The Art of Resilience, and Phung Huynh's Hidden Journey. Most visitors to the prestigious West Side Gallery don't look twice at the petite woman in simple clothes who sometimes adjusts the lighting or straightens a frame. They assume she's part of the maintenance staff, maybe a curator's assistant at best. They don't realize they're brushing shoulders with an Phung Huynh, the very artist whose bold cultural fusion pieces they've come to admire, and whose work now commands 6 figures at international auctions. Anne prefers it this way. When people don't know who I am, they speak freely about my art, she says with a slight smile. They don't filter their reactions through the lens of my story. And what a story it is! Long before her paintings hung in major museums and private collections, Anne was huddled in a small fishing boat with 23 other refugees fleeing post-war Vietnam in 1978. She was just 6 years old, clutching her mother's hand as waves threatened to swallow their overcrowded vessel. I remember the thirst more than anything, Anne recalls, sitting in her spacious downtown studio, surrounded by in-progress canvases. 3 days without enough water changes you forever. Even now, decades later in my comfortable life, I keep bottles of water everywhere, my car, my purse, beside my bed. Some fears never leave you. The ocean crossing was just the beginning of Anne's journey. After months in a Thai refugee camp, her family was sponsored by a church group in Los Angeles. They arrived with nothing but a few photographs and the clothes they wore. My father had been a literature professor in Vietnam, she says. In America, he cleaned office buildings at night. My mother, who came from a well-respected family, worked in a garment factory, hunched over a sewing machine for 12 hours a day. Their sacrifice became Anne's motivation. While her parents worked multiple jobs, she excelled in school, particularly in art classes where language barriers didn't matter. Her talent caught the attention of teachers, who encouraged her with extra supplies and after-school mentoring. Art was the first place I felt seen in America, she explains. Before I could properly ask for directions or order food, I could make people stop and look at my drawings. It was power when I felt powerless. Few of Anne's early supporters could have predicted her meteoric rise in the art world. After earning a full scholarship to art school, a moment that made her father weep with pride, she developed a distinctive style that merged traditional Vietnamese techniques with contemporary American themes. Her breakthrough exhibition, Between Worlds, sold out on opening night. Yet success didn't change Anne's fundamental approach to life. While her contemporaries embraced the spotlight, she remained deliberately low-key, often attending her own gallery openings incognito, observing reactions from the sidelines. People speak differently about art when they think the artist is listening, she explains. They perform appreciation. I'm more interested in raw, honest responses. This philosophy extends to her teaching position at one of the country's top fine arts programs, where students are initially unaware of her impressive resume. She introduces herself simply as Anne on the first day, letting them discover her identity gradually through the semester. The moment they know who you are, the dynamic shifts, she says. Suddenly they're painting for me, for my approval, instead of finding their authentic voice. I want them to discover their own perspective before they worry about impressing established artists. Her unconventional approach has confused university administrators, who've questioned why she doesn't leverage her reputation more prominently in marketing materials. Anne's response is always the same. The work speaks for itself. The rest is distraction. This resistance to self-promotion hasn't hampered her career. If anything, the mystique has enhanced it. Critics have described her as the art world's best-kept secret and the invisible force reshaping contemporary Asian American art. Museum curators compete for her installations, even knowing she's unlikely to appear at their gala openings. Behind this professional enigma is a deeply personal philosophy shaped by the refugee experience. When we fled Vietnam, we lost everything that defined us externally, Anne explains. Social status, possessions, community recognition, it all stayed behind. What remained was internal, our values, our memories, our capacity to create beauty from nothing. That taught me that external validation is ultimately meaningless. This perspective makes her something of an anomaly in today's art world, where social media presence and personal branding often overshadow the work itself. She has no Instagram account, no Twitter feed documenting her process or promoting upcoming shows. Her website is minimal, updated infrequently by a former student who respects her privacy. People find this strange now, she acknowledges. They think artists need to be personalities, celebrities. But throughout most of art history, the work mattered more than the person making it. I prefer that tradition. What Anne does embrace publicly is her role as an advocate for refugee artists and immigrant communities. The community arts program she founded in her old neighborhood provides free classes to newly arrived immigrants and refugees. Though it now receives substantial grant funding and corporate sponsorships, many participants don't realize the unassuming woman who sometimes stops by to teach is both its founder and primary benefactor. When new refugees arrive, from Syria, from Afghanistan, from wherever conflict forces people to flee, I see my parents in their faces, she says. Art can't solve their practical problems, but it can preserve their dignity when so much else has been taken. Anne's dual existence, celebrated artist in certain circles, anonymous mentor in others, reflects the cultural duality that defines her work. Her latest series features traditional Vietnamese silk painting techniques applied to scenes of modern American urban life, creating a visual conversation between her two worlds. I live in the hyphen of Vietnamese American, she explains. Not fully either, but creating something new in the space between. Many of us exist in these hyphens: Mexican American, Nigerian American, Korean American. We're translators between worlds. This translation comes with responsibility. Anne is acutely aware that her success makes her a representative of both Vietnamese culture and the refugee experience for many Americans. People often want to simplify my story into an American dream narrative, she says with a hint of frustration. Refugee works hard, achieves success, proves the system works, but that erases the systemic barriers most refugees face and the communities that make individual success possible. She's equally resistant to being categorized solely as a Vietnamese refugee artist, preferring to be seen as an artist whose experiences inform but don't limit her work. The refugee experience shaped me, but it doesn't define everything I create, she insists. Sometimes I just want to paint light falling through leaves because it's beautiful. This complexity extends to her relationship with Vietnam itself. Anne has returned several times, teaching workshops and collaborating with local artists. These visits are both homecomings and reminders of her outsider status. In Vietnam, I'm seen as American, she says. My Vietnamese is outdated, my mannerisms too direct. Then I come back to America where I'm always asked, "Where are you really from?" Neither place fully claims me. Rather than finding this painful, Anne draws creative energy from this liminal existence. Her most powerful works explore belonging and displacement in ways that resonate across cultural experiences. Today, Anne resides modestly, despite her success. She owns a small house near her studio and drives a 10-year-old car. Her most extravagant purchases are art supplies and pieces by emerging artists she wants to support. Money beyond what you need for security is just a number, she says. My parents didn't risk their lives crossing an ocean so I could accumulate things. They wanted me to have freedom, to create, to speak truth, to help others. This philosophy guides her approach to wealth. Much of her income goes to immigration legal services, refugee resettlement organizations, and scholarships for first-generation college students. Success isn't what you gain, she says. It's what you do with what you've gained. As our conversation ends, Anne needs to leave for a meeting at the Community Arts Center. She changes from her paint-splattered studio clothes into a simple black outfit that would blend into any crowd. No designer labels, no statement jewelry, nothing that would mark her as someone whose work sells for more than most people's homes. Most refugees learn to be chameleons, she says, gathering her worn messenger bag. We adapt to survive. I've just turned that skill toward different purposes. Before she goes, I ask if she ever wishes for more recognition in her daily life, to be approached by admirers, or acknowledged by the art world beyond gallery walls. And pauses at the door, considering. Fame is another kind of boat, she says finally. Seems like salvation when you're drowning, but it carries its own dangers. I crossed one ocean already. I'm content on solid ground, making art that matters, helping where I can. She slips out the door and walks down the street, another face in the crowd, the invisible artist whose vision has quietly shaped how America sees itself, its immigrants, and the spaces between cultures. Few pedestrians glance twice at her passing. They don't know that the unassuming woman waiting for the bus has work hanging in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They don't know her journey from a refugee boat to artistic prominence. They don't know her name, and Phung Huynh wouldn't have it any other way. In the tapestry of American dreams, it is often those who arrive with empty pockets but full hearts who weave the most vibrant threads. Immigrants cross oceans and borders carrying nothing but hope, facing language barriers, cultural shock, and sometimes outright hostility. Yet they persist. They work jobs others won't take, study late into the night, and send money home while building new foundations. Their stories aren't just tales of survival, but testaments to the extraordinary resilience of the human spirit. For in choosing to leave everything familiar behind, they've already demonstrated a courage most will never know. Remember, today's struggle is tomorrow's strength, and in the face of impossible odds, the immigrant's heart beats with the most powerful force on earth, unwavering hope. Thank you for watching our channel, Immigrant Courage, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring stories.